Hi, and welcome to my All About Me, Mr. Ronchak. This is me and my cat, or my coworker, as I have right now. It's tricky to get a picture of her because she's a black cat. Her name's Maleficent. But she's my housemate, my coworker, and she's pretty cool. A little bit about me, my life before high school. Right here are my parents, my Ron and Dorothy Ronchak. Um, so they raised me, and were very happily married for a very long time. My mom passed away a couple of years ago from pancreatic cancer, but I still feel a lot of her around me. And if you can't tell, I actually take after my mom more than I take after my dad. Once you see my siblings, you'll see my dad and my sibling and a couple of my siblings, and my mom's the other two. I was born in Falcon Heights to Ron and Dorothy Ronchak. I went to St. Rose of Lima, which is my elementary school. So that one's right here was also where I went to middle school. That was the top floor. And then I went to St. Bernard's High School, which is this one over here. This was like an elementary school that was also there. St. Bernard's is actually closed now. It doesn't even exist anymore. But we were blue and gold, so I always get excited about blue and gold for Columbia Heights because it's just like, hey, I was blue and gold when I was in high school. And then for college, I went to St. John's University up in St. Cloud. But you've all heard that. Go Johnnies and Tommies are bad. uh, some of my major classes that I took in high school, math classes were my favorite classes. It's what first made me start thinking about when I was deciding to be a teacher. I was like, hey, I could do all kinds of math. That sounds pretty great. My AP courses, I took five AP courses throughout my high school career. AP biology was my first one. I took it as an independent study. And then I took AP Lit and AP Calc my senior year. I also took US History my junior year. I think the APUSH test was probably the hardest test that I took. And I got a two on that one and just got slaughtered. I learned a lot about how to learn and deal with difficult texts. So while I might not have gotten college credit from that one, I think I learned the most from my US history course. And I also took Spanish 5. At this point, like my Spanish is it kind of comes and goes. I don't really feel like I can speak it. I can sometimes understand it, but I don't think I can speak it appropriately anymore. Some of the things, my activities that I've done in high school, I just did it on the first in my high school aspect. I kind of had a before and after. I started out doing a lot of sports, but by the time I was done, I was a theater kid. This is my high school director, Mr. Stonewall. Uh, that was taken like a little bit after high school. This is me right there, and this is my buddy Ivan. We would do keep it real, everybody, but we would do all these choreographed fights for different skits that we had to do. And this was right before we got to sword fight at the end of Hamlet. And we were so excited about it. I still actually have my sword from when I did this. It's in the closet right back there. Uh, yeah. So I started out with football, and then by the time I was done, I was big into theater. Some of my other hobbies now that I'm an adult is board games. This is my Kallax at home. This past summer, I purchased my 100th board game. It's right down here. It's called Tales of the Arabian Nights. It's a game in a sense. It was one of my first games when I started like going out and just kind of playing with strangers. The idea is you're more just telling a story. It's a choose your own adventure, the board game. Like different things will happen, and you get to decide, oh, what do you want to do from this list of 10 things? And then somebody reads you a passage about it. But I really like games because it's a way that I can interact with my friends in person, and we get to tell fun stories together. And that's why I bought this one, is because it's a way of telling stories. Some of my other hobbies, I've been trying to get better at photo editing. This is one that I made for a game that we were meeting up. I photoshopped all these little faces over the stormtroopers. These are characters from another game that I like to play, but I use this as a Facebook invite to my friends. I've also been working on my cooking skills. These were my mom's brownies that I tried to make, and ooh, they look a mess, but they did taste pretty well. So I do like to learn new ways to cook because I like to learn. Some of my shout outs, people that I really want to give a big shout out, my siblings. So this is my older sister, Jean, and my two younger brothers. So you can see my sister right here. My sister and I, we really take after my mom, but then my two brothers take after my dad. Uh, like when I brought my brother to high school the first time, I was telling my Spanish teacher, "This is my brother," and she's like, "No, it's not." These are my two best friends, Dylan and Chris. I've known them since college. Chris was actually my random college roommate. When we were just randomly assigned roommates, we became freshman roommates and we stayed roommates all through college. Some of my major teachers, you already saw Mr. Stovall. Mr. Mikna was my um, math teacher who I was like, oh, I could be Mr. Mikna. Del Brost was one of the people who helped me in college to become a teacher. So he was my advisor when I was doing my student teaching, and he taught me a lot about what it means to be a teacher. But the biggest thing for me is my family. This is my youngest brother getting married. This is my other brother. They actually just got married very recently, and these two are basically like common law married at this point. Some of the things that I've gotten out of AVID, note taking strategies is one of the main things. Like breaking down ideas into parts. So has taught me a lot more than even actually I learned from my U.S. history course, and also instructional techniques to help students work with difficult texts and encouraging discussions among other people. Number one, AVID loves organization. Some of the things I got on my bucket list is to leave the country. Oh, I'm kind of in the way here. Leave the country at some point because I've never left the country. Some of the places I'd think about going is Australia, Japan, or London. I want to do a 10 by 10 challenge, which is you try to play 10 different games 10 times. So it's 100 plays over the course of a year. So I want to do a 10 by 10 challenge some year. I want to buy a house. This is my apartment. It'd be nice to have a house at some point or another. And finally, I've got this big, thick book. It's a big horror story book by H.P. Lovecraft. He wrote a bunch of horror short stories, and I'd be excited to try them out. This is me at Gen Con. It's a summer like board game thing where I get to like teach people how to play board games. And this is my cat underneath a blanket that my sister made for her. Next 4 years, I'm really excited to be teaching AP Calculus very soon, as well as start working on my math masters. Like if AP Calculus happens, like that's one of the things I want to try to get. I've been trying to get it off of Honix. I really want to get it. If I don't, otherwise, I'm thinking about maybe getting a math masters. And there's a part of me that's also wondering, do I want to be done with education? A lot of people that have taught me how to be a good teacher talk about their other experiences outside of education. And so there's a part of me that wonders, do I want to experience that world outside of education? Because that's all I've known. So I wonder if there's going to be a point where I want to leave education to just learn something new to make me a better teacher. But overall, I really like my job. So that's kind of a maybe. And this is me and Chris when we were freshman roommates in college, and another guy, John, who was on our floor. So that's my all about me presentation. Thank you for watching.